Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales once more. Welcome back to our evening of Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Usually we're playing London Ascendant, our own little campaign, but it's a bit different this week, and I'll get onto that in more detail later. But first of all, let's do our usual early stream blurb. First off, we have a stream manager in these here parts. He's called Steve, and he will pop up now to say hi. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Matt. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yes, I'm
Wonderful.
Okay.
Steve will be doing all sorts of stuff behind the scenes: cameras, images, rules, questions, band hammers, exciting stuff like that. So we'll send him back to the darkness from whence he came, and we'll see him later. Usually, if we mess up in some horrible way, so let's hope not. We have a bunch of links that you could maybe be interested in down below. There are links to our Twitch and our YouTube. You're watching on one of them right now, but maybe you'd be interested in the other one as well. Maybe you give us a follow on the other one as well. That would be nice. We have a Discord, and if you want, you can come join us there and talk about all things Tales, all things tabletop role-playing. We have a Patreon if you wish to support us further and get some tasty little extras for your wonderful cash, then you can go there and do that. And we've got a bunch of social media as well, where we are usually, but not always, Telling Tales RP. All in the links below. Check them out. We've also got another long-running weekly series. On Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock GMT, we play Simbaroom. It's a dark fantasy series from the system by Free League, and we have a lot of fun with it. I said that in a really monotone voice, but I assure you, we do have fun with it. We also have monthly one-shot streams that we do every first Saturday of the month. And the most recent one this last weekend gone was Troika, which is a wonderful abstract and surreal nonsense of an indie RPG. I believe the VOD. In fact, I know the VOD is still here on Twitch, so you could watch it there, and it will be appearing over on our YouTube over the course of the next week or so. And also, excitingly, next Monday, that is Monday the 15th of March, we'll see the start of our next weekly long-running roleplay stream. We're going to be playing Call of Cthulhu, and oh my word, you don't even have me games mastering for that. We're going to have Johnny acting as the keeper for that Call of Cthulhu series. So please do tune in this coming Monday to see how that's going to kick off. Okay, that's enough with all the promotion and nonsense. I'm going to bring on, we're going to do the intros in a slightly different way here because there's not much point doing a grand, detailed recap of last week's session. So instead, I'll bring on the players one by one, and then I'll give the briefest of brief context recaps, and then we'll just get going, I think. So first off, let's bring on Justin. Justin plays Mandrill in our normal chronicle, but Justin's playing someone else here. Hi, Justin.
I am, yeah.
He is. It's true. I wouldn't lie. Not to any of you. John next. Let's roll on John.
Hello.
Hi, John. Hello. Are you looking forward to not playing a borderline sociopathic upper-class drug dealer?
I don't know. It does make a nice break from the rest of my week.
Yes, absolutely. You're not upper class. So, Neill. Let's bring on Neill. Hi, Neill.
Good evening.
How's it going?
Fine. I've had to practice voices, but I keep accidentally slipping into Alex.
I can imagine that. Yeah, I was literally going to ask you about that. Someone's mic's blowing a little. I think it's possibly John's. There we go. Yeah, I was wondering how you're going to handle role playing not in a calm monotone.
Me too.
We will find out. And finally, Pierre. Of course, Pierre. Potentially fewer bookstore interview scenes in this series for you, Pierre. But
I'm going to make it happen, regardless.
Just hook or crook.
Every character must have bookstore interviews. They're the best.
Absolutely. It's the hallmark of our channel. So, without any further ado, let's have the briefest of brief recaps. So, in our normal ongoing campaign, London Ascendant, these guys play a coterie of vampires, a group of vampires who've come to London to reclaim it from the Second Inquisition that have reaved the city of unlife. And they are trying to scrape back control of the city from the Second Inquisition. And in the course course of their investigations in doing this, they have found certain documentation that has illuminated events from 8 years ago when the city first fell to the Second Inquisition. And essentially, what we're playing through is information from those documents. If you want to think about it as a prequel, I guess, or a flashback or whatever, hey, that works. So, but without any further ado, let's get into it. And you know what? The first thing I'm going to do, you know what? I think the order that we're on screen here is as good a random order as any. John, for a long time now, although time is a very distant concept from where you are currently existing, there has been essentially nothing. A dreamless sleep, deeper than a sleep, a state of being in which you're not even aware of the void you're in. And then suddenly there is something. It takes you what feels like an age to slowly register the sensation that is affecting your being, the being you weren't even really aware you had shortly before this. And then you realize that that sensation is taste. Something sharp and iron and potent filling what you now realize slowly is your mouth, sliding down your throat, ingesting, feeling the power of it flow through you. You feel like something, a piece of machinery ticking back into life. Your gears, your clockwork moving again after what must have been eons of stillness. You slowly blink and open your eyes, and you feel like perhaps on some level you remember that maybe if you've been asleep for this long, your eyes should have trouble adjusting to the light, to the glare, but nothing like that. There is a shadowy figure leaning over you, and they're kind of bending back, holding in their hands what seems to be a small, ornate ceramic goblet. Reality kind of flushes in as the undead neurons in your brain start firing. You are kindred. Your name is Henry, and that's pretty much all you're registering right about now. Your eyes focus on the man standing over you. He's a tall, bald black man wearing a plain black button-up shirt, trousers, and shoes. Kind of very, I would say formal wear, but there's nothing kind of fancy about what he's wearing at all. Very functional. As he leans back from you, you hear him murmur something under his breath, and part of your brain, maybe you put two and two together. Maybe presumably you are an educated man because you register that he is speaking Latin.
Do I register what he's saying?
Well, you know what? I think right now, perhaps not, but I think we could maybe have a roll for that once you're a bit more compos mentis.
All right.
Yes. But you are awake and, alive, quotation marks. You feel like you have been dead for a very long time.
I look at the man with the goblet and say, "Good evening."
Oh, yes. Evening. I'm sorry, I need to he indicates kind of over to your right. You turn and see that there are three individuals on kind of metal tables arrayed out to your right in a row. They seem to be strapped down. They all seem to be corpses. You also take in the framing of the room itself. There are these metal tables. The walls are all kind of whitewashed breeze blocks. The floor and high ceiling are concrete, and there is a large reinforced metal door by one side that's just swung ajar. It is only upon seeing the others strapped to metal tables that you realize that you, yourself, are strapped to a metal table.
I sort of test the straps quite gently and say, "Would you mind?"
In just a moment, I absolutely will. But please, if I can awaken the others first.
Do not let me detain you.
The man walks around the foot of your metal table, walks up to the next individual along, leans over them, and pours some kind of viscous liquid, blood, from the goblet into their mouth. It is not like watching someone wake up. Watching someone wake up, you know, their body starts moving involuntarily. They make noises, maybe they cough or hiccup or breathe faster, and they kind of slowly doze to awakeness. This woman's eyes, just 1 minute, she's a corpse. The next minute, she's a living corpse. The eyes flick open. Justin, similarly to how I described it for Henry, you slowly come to a sense of awakening after an infinite amount of time, dead or sleeping or in some form of formless void. And then finally, the taste of the blood rushes through you and you feel it. That spiritual, deep power coming to you from all around you as well as yourself. That deep blood magic roaring through you. You open your eyes and you are met with the scene I described for John.
Does it look like there are any features of the room that particularly stand out to me? Any items or reliquies or?
I would venture to say there are literally no features to this room. The metal tables, the man with the goblet, everything else is just walls, ceiling, and doors.
What does the goblet look like?
The goblet looks very old. It is ceramic and it is ornate. In point of fact, now that Henry is a bit more aware, I'm happy for both of you to make a little roll here. Justin, why don't you give me a roll for intelligence plus occult, please?
Oh, please.
And let me know. There's kind of two benchmarks for it. There's a difficulty 2 and a difficulty 4. So you let me know what you get out of that. And as for Henry, you were focusing on what the man was saying in Latin, right? So wits plus occult, slightly different, and difficulty 4. If anyone has, I would say if anyone has read Fall of London or has played through it or anything like that, and there are differences, it's possible they're mistakes, but they're probably intentional.
For the sake of rolling, what is our hunger?
Oh, yes, very good question. Your hunger is 4. Everyone's hunger will be 4 when they wake up.
4 successes.
Let's see how Henry does.
Super keen.
2 successes.
Okay. Yeah, it's Latin. Your Latin, honestly, is not as good. You can't speak Latin. You get the feeling you're very au fait with Latin single words and phrases, and your mind flashes that perhaps you are a scientific man or a medical man, something like that. But actually speaking it is a bit beyond you. Justin, on the other hand, or Alice, to give you a character name,
Thank you.
You immediately fix on this goblet and you notice 2 things about it. Both of them are to do with the symbols on it. The symbols are from a variety of sources, and even as you kind of slowly start piecing together fragments of you and your personality and your expertise about you come together in your head, and you realize that some of these symbols are symbols of a discipline that that you are adept in, called blood sorcery. Other symbols are to do with an individual called Mithras, and you can go ahead and remember who Mithras is.
Great.
Which I believe you have your information about Mithras is on your sheet. before we go any further, how about, because you two can see each other and recognize each other, how about we get a description of your characters? Henry, why don't you start first? It's fine. If you just want to read out the description on your sheet, that's absolutely fine.
I appear to be a slightly too neatly groomed man of Bangladeshi descent in his late 30s.
Justin? Alice?
I am a woman in my early 20s with dark hair and features, weathered from outside life, calloused and leathery hands, and a deep, longing look for secrets and magic.
Both of you are wearing, and this goes for the others as well, when you are when you come to kind of when you wake up, both of you are wearing clothes that are essentially rags pitted heavily with dirt and mildew. Your hair is matted and there is dirt encrusted under your fingernails. So yeah, which I guess puts a lie to Henry looking really groomed, but I think his fastidiousness shows through regardless, perhaps.
It's a very well groomed dirt.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Will be by the end of the night.
So the individual who has fed you the blood is now moving on to the third metal table, unless, Alice, you're saying anything, or clearly Henry is happy to wait.
I think my eyes are locked on the goblet, and for at least a little while.
Absolutely. So, Neill, Catherine, you rouse from that same infinite nothing that the others do. You feel the blood rush through you. The blood is the power, the personal power that comes from what is inside you. Your own blood is as powerful as the blood you are being fed. You are awake. You see the scene everyone else sees. Any reaction?
I will look around briefly and try and lock eyes with the man feeding me blood before he goes away.
He will indeed he meets your gaze for a second and then kind of bows his gaze almost in a kind of deference.
What is this?
I am sorry. I will release the straps very, very soon. Just I merely need to awaken the last member of your group.
Don't keep a lady waiting.
Excellent. Neill, would you like to describe Catherine for us?
Catherine is, or appears to be at least, in her early 20s, classically beautiful, with pale skin and long blonde hair, or at least it would be blonde if it wasn't filthy.
Absolutely.
Dirty blonde.
Before yes, before the man moves to the final individual in your row, is anyone else saying or doing anything, or happy to wait for this final person to be awoken?
Could you describe what this person looks like again? Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, sorry, absolutely. He's a tall, bald black man wearing a plain black button-up shirt, trousers, and shoes. So quite a kind of formal but nondescript appearance. And as each time that he pours blood into someone's mouth, he mutters something under his breath that sounds like Latin.
Can you tell me what the blood tastes like?
The blood tastes very rich and potent, and now that you are aware enough to put those connections together, you are almost certain that it is kindred blood.
Could I do can I make use of my disciplines?
Go for it. Absolutely,
at this
go
point,
for it. Yeah,
to make a resolve plus blood sorcery roll.
Yes, the thing that I always get wrong, because I want to call it Taste of Vitae when it's got a different name now, I believe.
Yes, just taste for blood.
They changed of to 4, which is, I don't know why I find that so fascinating.
Yeah, every vampire's got a taste for blood.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead and give us that discipline roll. Although, does it involve a rouse check?
It's free.
Good. I was going to say, you probably don't want to be making rouse checks right now.
Who can say?
Could I avoid it though? You know, I'm so curious. This person's got a shiny. I got 3 successes, by the way, no crit. So
okay, does it say in the write-up what that particularly signifies?
Yes.
Or is it just
it does. And I'll go to my notes that I've just copied across. On a win, user can determine the resonance and intensity of the blood if human, and can identify mortals, ghouls, or supernatural, or just generic supernatural from a generic win.
Sure, cool. In that case, it sounds like, and I think we've come up on this before in our general campaign, because obviously Taste of Vita used to do a lot more in previous editions. If it was kindred blood, this is definitely blood that has come from a kindred. Absolutely. If and I am aware that because of what I've told you about that goblet, you might be. Because of what you may be suspecting about your character's past, you may be like, is this incredibly powerful kindred blood? Such as from an individual called Mithras. Yeah. It is definitely not.
Sure. Can I get an idea of whether it's more potent or less potent than me at blood potency too?
Roughly equivalent.
Roughly equivalent. Thank you very much.
It's all vampire blood is good vampire blood.
Spoken like a Diablerist.
Absolutely. So wonderful. In that case, the final individual of to be awakened, Pierre, Tommy. You rise out of the nothingness, and the blood rushes through your system, firing you like adrenaline. There's a roar in your ears, like 1,000 artillery shells hitting home, and you blink, and you're there.
Okay, I jerk strongly against. I immediately try and sit up, and then as soon as I realize I'm in any way restrained, I am like freaking out, and I am just trying to pull my arm out of the restraints.
That is absolutely fine. Let's see if he's obviously going to try and mollify you and do other stuff, but there is absolutely a roll to be made to see if you just break free anyway. So can you give me, I'm going to deviate from the book asking for a strength plus strength test. Strength plus athletics test, I think. At difficulty, it says a difficulty 3. I think that's a little low. Let's go for difficulty 4. These are expertly tied straps on the metal table. I don't think difficulty 3 is reasonable. Difficulty 4. You may also want to check to see if you get boosts from this from your potence, which I know you do have.
Yeah, I have lethal body and prowess.
Prowess may help you. That's just for feats of strength, yes?
Yeah, I think so.
But it will involve a rouse check, I believe, which you probably don't want to do.
Yeah, that's true. I think I'm panicking too much to think about that thing. So yeah, I think I'll
just making a flat strength plus athletics then.
Yeah. So I'm rolling.
Don't forget
7
your 4
dice.
hunger dice. Yeah,
4 hunger dice.
4 of them are hunger.
4 of them are hunger. That is success. 5 successes.
Yeah, absolutely. The man kind of jerks back away from you. You, with a cry, you tear the straps from the metal table, and the whole thing kind of tips over. It's not particularly sturdy, and it just kind of tips you over and sends you spilling onto the floor. The man has backed off and is kind of cradling the goblet to himself, and then with one hand held out says, "Please, I'm a friend. I'm a friend. I mean you no harm."
I sort of look around and I can see the scene. Who are you?
Please, I have answers for you, but first, please, I will release your companions. The others I have awoken, please.
Yes, darling, that would be lovely.
Hearing that voice kind of calms me a little bit.
Tommy, I'm assuming you're not going to try and stop him in any way or immediately attack him or anything like that.
I'm going to keep an eye on him. If it looks like he's about to like cut their throats or something, I'll probably
you'll intervene. But
I'll try.
So you still have the remnants of those straps on your wrist. Are you like leaving them on or kind of tearing them off in any way?
I'm like removing the things. I don't like being
cuffs.
bound.
Yeah, absolutely. And this seems a great opportunity for you to give us a description of Tommy.
Yeah, so I look like I'm in my early 20s. I'm a young black man. From what you can see, that's not covered up by my clothes, I have, especially on my right side, like some pretty serious burns, and it seems to, from what you can see, it looks like it's all over my body pretty much, but more on my right side. But like, yeah, I look pretty horrendous in terms of all the scars and burns.
Tommy has been through some shit.
Yeah.
So the man kind of walks over, and in reverse order, the order he's walking towards. So he releases Catherine first, and then moves on to Alice, and then finally Henry, and kind of steps back. He's still got kind of the goblet in one hand, and he seems to be kind of very protective over it. He's being very careful and cautious about how he's moving it around and how he's holding it. Not to hide it, just it needs to be safe.
Yeah.
I'll sit up, not standing up just yet, but just sitting up and as if having to steady myself, even though that isn't really necessarily being dead.
I'm sort of pacing up and down the room.
Stand and then take something of an appraisal at my 3 newly awoken companions.
I think it's safe to say you're all maybe considering each other. As we've discussed, you don't have much knowledge or memory about your life before this state of torpor you've emerged from. You definitely don't have an overwhelming sense that you have strong emotions for each other, but you definitely feel like you've, at the very least, met each other before. There's something familiar about you to each other.
I feel like I know you, but my memory's not so good. Do you know this man? I'll be talking to Henry in this case.
Only as well as you do, I presume.
At this point, the man kind of finds it within himself to step forward a bit, and he says, "I know you must be very confused. My name is Adelino de Silva. I am a friend, I assure you, and the others I work for, they have been expecting you, but you must realize you have been asleep." His eyes flick around as if he knows that's not really the correct way to term it. A long time. We do not know precisely when you were laid to rest, but the year is 2012. You are all aware that you can't pin down the precise year, but you were definitely all have been in this state of torpor since a year of World War II in the early 40s.
So why have you awoken us now?
That is a good question. One which I'm not entirely able to answer, but I suppose the short answer is that you were lost.
Lost?
I will spring up with a slight dusting of my hands and say, "Well then, perhaps you could take us to someone who does know. You said friends?"
Yes. There are individuals, and there is a man here in this very building who can help you much further than I can. You are in London, which is where you were laid to rest, but there are a couple of things that perhaps we need to do before you can speak with him. He kind of beckons in a sort of modest fashion and turns and walks out of the large reinforced metal door that was ajar.
Okay, I try and follow.
Yeah, follow.
I will make for it and be very make upset faces when Tommy tries to go in front of me. There might even be a slight.
I persist. I think I also, like, if I can get him, if I can catch up to him sort of reasonably quickly, I'd like to sort of, ask him. So the war's over?
Yes. We call it the Second World War now.
Okay.
You all walk through to kind of a larger rectangular space that has very similar ceilings and walls with multiple doorways on all sides. Some of these doors, including the one from which you've just walked, have large metal bars across them to lock in potential occupants. Other normal doors that you kind of walk past seem to lead to perhaps more regular rooms, what seems to be a functioning shower room, for example, toilet facilities, storage rooms that seem to have, obviously the containers are slightly out of place to you, but you can still recognize them as like cleaning supplies, very basic stuff. At the center of this large room that you've gone into are several plastic refuse sacks of used clothes and footwear that's tipped onto the floor. Adelino steps forward and says, "You're welcome to take these. Your garments, they're obviously in poor wear, and I will be honest, a little out of touch. Before you do that, though, sustenance, probably before you change clothes." He looks a little daunted at the notion of what you might do involving sustenance before clothes are changed.
Can I wander over to one of those barred, closed doors and look in?
As you do so, Adelino walks kind of up behind you and says, "Yes, if you'd just step back, please, miss."
Yeah, absolutely.
He draws back the metal door, swings it open, and starts hauling bound and gagged mortals into the room, one by one, and placing them quite gently on the floor in a row. They are clearly struggling against their bonds, and, I mean, understandably, not happy to be there.
Are they blindfolded? Can they see?
They can see. They are gagged, and they are bound. There are two old men who look a little worse for wear, perhaps vagrants. There are two men of kind of younger age and a bit more clean looking, who are wearing identical uniforms of some odd kind with a kind of reflective orange fabric on it. And there are two young women who are dressed in, I suppose, not a completely unfamiliar fashion for the 1940s, kind of, sort of trouser suits, but maybe with a shorter skirt. Recognizable, or you no idea what kind of job someone would perform to wear these clothes, but yes.
Our friends prepared for us, I see.
Adelino kind of backs off, very clearly keeping the mortals between you and him, and he's still kind of cradling the goblet and kind of hesitatingly kind of gestures towards the individuals on the floor.
Do any of the individuals have a wise, learned, mysterious look about them, or do they all just look terrified?
They all look terrified, so yeah.
Then they all look equally tasty.
I have a question as well. Do any of them seem to be wearing more expensive clothes?
I think we talked about this when we discussed, because Catherine, as people may be detecting, is Ventru. and therefore has a feeding restriction. So I think we talked about this in terms with when we talk about Arthur in the main campaign. Is there an element in 5th edition that Ventrue generally know by sight or smell whether the person...
They roll resolve resolve plus awareness at difficulty 4.
Then give me that.
I'd rather not, because I'm not going to roll
Fair
it
enough.
because I can't possibly pass.
You can also spend
I can also spend
willpower if needed.
But I'm just investing.
Oh, you can consume the blood. Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, tell you what. Then give me that roll and just tell me how many successes you get, and we'll see if it leads you in any direction. 3. Okay.
Which actually is almost my best roll.
You can't pin it down any particular person, but your long dormant gut tells you that the 2 young women look perhaps more respectable than the others.
Well, at that point, then I will go over to one of those respectable young women, see whichever looks more respectable, and lean over and just my hand gently on their shoulder and say, "It's quite all right. Don't worry. Everything will be fine. Don't worry." And then gently go in for the feeding.
Sure.
And I'll pay the willpower if I need to.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, let's see what the others are doing first, and then we have a set of rolls to make. Pierre, you were saying something there. What's Tommy doing?
I very straightforwardly and simply stride over to one of the old men, and kneel down, and without saying anything, just take a drink.
Sure. Alice.
Yeah. I'll grab the tallest one, and feed probably till they're.
Well, we need to kind of cover what happens next. So, I'd say that's one of the workmen. How about Henry?
I turn to our guide, whose name I already can't remember.
Adelino,
and say, "Do you have any sedatives? Morphine, opium?"
No, I don't think so.
Very well. I will go over to whoever is left.
Well, they're either one of the old men, one of each, actually. You still have your selection available.
I will go to the old man.
The other old man, sure.
And before I feed, I will say, "I apologize."
So, first things first, can everyone make a willpower test at difficulty 3, please?
Difficulty 3, willpower. So is that just you roll your willpower?
Yes. Yes. And that means that doesn't have hunger dice, and you can't use willpower to spend for it.
Is this
2 successes.
Is this for a hunger frenzy out of interest?
It is, and yeah, I'm just reading the settings in the book, so if it's incorrect, blame them, not me.
I'm rolling 3 dice. I do not succeed.
You have very little willpower.
I do, apparently.
Surely you've got more than 3 willpower.
I've only got 3 noted on my sheet.
Really? Huh. Let me just double check that.
Because I have 5.
What was your inclination, Neill?
Well, I was going to ask if I could ride the wave, but given that it already has a different dice pool to Hunger Frenzy, I'm not sure if that'd be fine or not.
The wave?
Ride the wave, it means I get to decide the actions of my frenzy, kind of, but I don't get to roll.
Yeah, I don't know if they've done it differently out of, because it was written, was Falls London written actually alongside the development of V5 or just shortly after? I don't know if it's because of that or because they've decided it's different because you've been in torpor for 70 years, which is why I'm asking.
Enough. If I can ride the wave, I'll ride the wave. Otherwise, I'll just roll it.
Yeah, that's fine. And yeah, you do only have willpower 3. That's quite low, really. But there we go. So, okay, did anyone succeed?
I got 2.
I got 2.
It's difficulty 3 though, so no.
So that's a failure, really, isn't it? That's another way of saying that.
Yeah.
So should I roll or can I ride the wave?
No, just let's go with the roll. Let's have everyone on the same basis.
I got 3.
There we go. Well, Catherine, and you know what? Let's deal with Catherine first then. So let's first of all, why don't you just give me a die roll, like a pseudo rouse check, and tell me if you succeed.
I fail.
Okay. You chose poorly. This individual is common.
Okay. Then I'm draining.
Okay.
I have to spend willpower anyway, so might as well get my money's worth.
Okay. This is gonna be interesting. So, okay. Everyone else, essentially, you are now in a hunger frenzy. You have been in a state of torpor without blood for so very long, and now you must drink. Now, hunger ends. A hunger frenzy ends, and again, this is what's in Fall of London. It may not reflect what's in the core book. A hunger frenzy ends after the character's hunger rating has been reduced to 1 or less by feeding. Now, that involves 3 hunger slaked, and now that is a harmful drink, but one which they could potentially survive. So we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that concept when we hit it. So you basically can reduce yourself to 1 and then stop if you wish. You can also spend a willpower to kind of determine the course of your frenzy for a brief moment. But having said that, realistically, it won't end your frenzy, so you can kind of stop drinking for a second, but then other people would have to prevent, some situation would change in order for you to not just go back to it in a moment. And Adelino ain't going to stop you, and I don't think given that at least 2 of you have said they're going to drink someone dry, I don't think anyone else is going to do it either. So, yeah. I would point out that I absolutely, just in case it's any consideration at all for your role-playing, I definitely consider draining bound and gagged and desperately unhappy victims, full stop, but especially dry and killing them. It's definitely going to give you stains.
Cool.
Saying. But if you're cool with that, that's cool. Catherine, how much are you drinking? Oh, you said you're just draining her.
Drain dry, yeah.
Okay, well then you are at hunger 0, and the kind of sense of resonance that you get from this individual is definitely choleric. This was a young woman who thrived on helping people and compassion. And the last moment of that winks out as you feel her heart stop underneath you. And obviously spend a willpower to avoid throwing it all back up. 2 willpower. Oh, yeah, new companion rolls, yeah. So let's move on to the next person, and we'll definitely leave Henry for last, because his feeding's fun for various reasons. Let's go with Alice. So, Alice, as I said, you can there's a moment feeding at hunger 1 if you want.
There's a moment when Alice is down at hunger 1 where she knows that she could stop, but doesn't. She just doesn't want to. She's like, I need this blood more than this person. So, and they're gonna die anyway. Like they're not gonna survive after I stop drinking from them. They're just dead. I mean they could. No.
No one's gonna
okay. I know that you're saying no, but I just want to make it clear for the audience and everyone who's playing that they could, according to the rules.
Alice doesn't think that.
Alice does know that.
What I'm saying is they're not going to have been fed on by a series of vampires and then suddenly go back to their normal lives.
Victims do, because otherwise the death toll would be catastrophic. But sure, okay. I just want to make it clear that Alice doesn't think that this person will definitely die if she doesn't kill them.
she's not that bothered either way.
That's fine. The man you drain dry, his resonance is melancholy. You sense an anger, perhaps you think maybe at the mother of his child that he feels fiercely protective over, and you get a final pang as his last breath leaves him that he won't see that child again. Your hunger 0.
Nice.
Tommy, are you going to stop at hunger 1?
I think because I'm drinking at the same time as the others.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I start, I like briefly see like the look in their eyes, and like that they both seem to be intending to like. I don't think they're going to stop, and it reminds me of something, and it bothers me. But then my hunger frenzy hits. And so I'm basically resisting as much as I can to not kill this person.
Because your hunger frenzy has to carry on until
but like I sort of lose control.
You can stop,
and I am in a state of like, I'm in a state of like sort of freaking out internally, because I can't stop myself, but I'm trying to stop myself as much as possible. I'll try and stop at 1.
I did, and you absolutely can. That's absolutely fine. Let's roll now. You know what? I think you get to make this roll, Pierre. I think you can make the roll to see if this man dies from what you've done. Because I don't have my dice on me, and also it's fun.
Sure.
So they're going to roll strength and stamina against a difficulty equal to the hunger slate. So that's a difficulty 3. And you're feeding off one of the older guys, right? Like, I mean. This man, for a start, the resonance is melancholy, and as you're drinking from him, you just get flashes of a woman long gone, who and for a moment you miss her terribly, just as much as this man does, and then you make the roll. And this is a tough guy, but he's also a guy battered down by life. I'm going to say that your pool here is 4, and you're at difficulty 3.
Yeah, so dice pool 4, and I'm not rolling in. Like hunger is irrelevant.
You're rolling for the individual you're draining.
I rolled 3 successes. So
the man, he's definitely unconscious. Like he, lost a lot of blood. But the way in which the kiss works, in which draining a mortal works, means as it happens, they're lulled into a state of pleasure's the wrong word, but certainly subservience and like a kind of restful bliss, and as you kind of rear away from the man's neck, you see that his breathing is like slowed down. He almost seems to be in a peaceful sleep. He's alive for now.
Okay.
Your hunger is at 1. And this has been the situation with the others. The 2 who are not being fed on are kind of moving a bit in their bonds, and kind of like the other young woman in particular is making kind of horrified sounds, staring at Catherine drinking from perhaps someone she knows. But everyone being fed on has gone still and quiet, apart from Henry. Your fangs pierce the old man's neck. He instantly starts bellowing and screaming at the top of his voice. He'd be thrashing around if he wasn't bound so tightly still. You hear a kind of, and you've heard this noise before, a kind of desperate, a kind of breathe screaming of just, he has to take the breaths to scream again. He's under tremendous pain from what you're doing to him. But you know that's normal. How much are you drinking from him?
I am only taking 3 points. I am stopping when I can.
Okay. I did have... let me just... Because I want to make sure I'm getting all the details for this right, because I haven't run this particular Clan Bane within V5 before. Oh no, that's fine. It's only basically the problem comes obviously with this when they're not bound and gagged. The resonance you get from this man is choleric. like a sense of perhaps it's odd you mentioned morphine. The sensations you're getting from him are like someone addicted to morphine or some other substance, and at first feeling the rush for the briefest moments when your fangs pierced his skin, but then realizing, oh, it's too much, it's far too much. Like an overdose, all the pain of an overdose happening, but as his body is being drained instead of some other chemical being introduced to it. As you back away, give me a roll for him as well. And this guy's a bit more robust than the other guy, so you get a dice pool of 5, but you're going to need to get 3 successes for him to remain alive.
It's no hunger dice in that roll, is it? Just 5?
No hunger dice. No, it's his roll. It's not yours. So normally the storyteller would be making this, but I prefer to run with no dice. And also, it's fun to make you roll to see if you've killed someone.
That is 2 successes.
After you stop drinking from him, he kind of pants both in relief and enduring pain for a few moments, and then you start to hear it getting weaker and weaker, and then it stops. And his eyes are just open, kind of still locked on the ceiling, trying to look anywhere but at you.
I will lay him down on the floor and close his eyes.
Cool. So, I think I'm going to hand out 1 stain to. I think there's no real difference between Henry and Tommy because it's just luck that one of them died and one of them didn't. So I'm going to hand out 1 stain to Henry and Tommy and 2 stains to Alice and Catherine, please.
Loving it.
This is a pure hypothetical question because it's such a vague conviction. The fact that they had no style and I do doesn't mitigate a stain in this case, does it?
I mean, read out your conviction for the pleasure of the audience, but I don't think so. But we can talk about it.
I don't think so either. But sovereignty springs from breeding and style.
No, I think the idea.
But
I think you lording over other people and getting them to do your will, perhaps against their will, is one thing, but killing them is, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
Regarding mine, I have a touchstone which is protect those who can't protect themselves. But I don't know if
that would be so. The way that touchstones
protected somebody else.
Sure, the way that touchstones work in this, because I don't think we've really touched on it when we've been in our main chronicle, is essentially if you break the chronicle tenets, so commit no malice, do not stare into the abyss, and
act like a human, not a beast.
Act like a human and not a beast. If you contradict one of those and would normally get stains, you're right, Neill. I've been saying touchstones when I should be saying convictions. Basically, if you break one of those in service of a conviction, you don't take stains.
Yeah, so I wasn't trying to protect people by drinking.
So, if, for example, you killed someone in maybe a cruel way to prevent them harming someone else, that would good. Mitigate the stains. Yeah, you mitigate a maximum of 1 stain per conviction. So. Yes. Adelino sees that you seem to be fairly sated, unless 2 of the ones who've moved, who have 1 hunger left, are going to also drink from others. I mean, although it would make a difference because to get to 0, you have to drain someone dry. So Adelino kind of steps forward and quite gently, picks up the 2. First, picks up the 2 who weren't fed from, who are kind of. You can see in particular the woman has kind of got tears rolling down her cheeks, and he drags them quite gently into the chamber, and then cradles and properly lifts the one you fed from, Tommy, the one still alive, and takes him and lays him down quite carefully in the other room, closes the door, rattles the metal bar in place, and turns back to you all and says, "Yes, well, are you all? Is that all well?"
I will gently lay the poor woman down, close her eyes if they aren't already, and just look satisfied. Ish.
There is no need to be concerned about. We will make sure these that disposed of.
Are the woman who Catherine just killed, does she have particularly nicer clothes than are available in the pile on the floor?
That's a very good shout. I would say.
I mean, I'm not saying that I'm stealing them. Catherine obviously has first dibs, but
I was more about to say, remember that when humans die, what happens?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, how grimly realistic are we being in this? Yes, you probably don't want to salvage clothes from individuals who have recently died.
I mean, the top half could be fine.
Sure. I don't know. Let's not get grotesquely biological about this. If you want to salvage their clothes, yeah, I'm fine with that.
If they're nicer than the ones in the pile,
let's not think too much about these things. But I mean, I appreciate the point. Yeah, you know what? Yes, they are.
Then I will point to her and say, Catherine, do you mind if I?
Are they more?
They're rather nice.
Out of interest, Matt.
Well, let's roll a die.
Sure.
And being as Catherine drained the woman, Neill can roll the die. Again, it's a rouse check, effectively, right? And if
success,
they are definitely more Catherine's build analysis.
Then I will look and just simply say, I think, darling, these are more mine than yours.
Fair enough. It's fine. And then I'll turn my attention to the pile of clothes on the floor.
Sure.
It's only right that Catherine doesn't want to go rummaging through a pile of clothes on the floor.
So as everyone kind of turns their attention to these clothes, Adelino kind of points over to the shower room and says, before you did, if you want to the grave dirt, I will stand outside and wait for you.
I'd walk over to showers. I'm used to this. I take off all my clothes. I'm used to being totally naked around people.
Mm-hmm. I will have a check of the showers. Is it one big communal shower or are they individual stalls?
It's a relatively large room. They aren't individual stalls, but there's a separating wall, right? So there aren't any signs indicating this, but the gut reaction would be, one is for men, one is for women.
I'm already scrubbing myself down in one of them.
Yep.
I am stripping this poor young woman and then waiting until everyone else has vacated the shower area.
Okay. Henry, what are you doing? Tommy has walked in already.
Well, I was going to let the ladies go first, but
nothing's stopping them.
Tommy's in there just go about my leg. Go whatever they want.
If you go in one side from the other, you wouldn't be able to see each other.
Then I will say to Alice, they appear to be separated. Some amount of privacy, at least. And then I will go and join Tommy.
This is certainly one of those instances, by the way. We talked before we started this about kind of like, obviously you've got to take the mores and values of the 40s or like when you were created as a vampire to certain instance. But also I think it's pretty safe to say that vampires give much less, know. Sexuality is a very different thing to vampires than it is to mortals. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. But I just wanted to frame that for viewers and everyone. Sure. Henry, are you going in then and showering with Tommy?
Yes.
Sure. It takes quite some time to get particularly to get your hair just unclogged. There's dirt all over you, as I say, under your fingernails, under your toenails, in your armpits. It's highly unpleasant. But after about 10 minutes or so, and they're decent showers, very, very high pressure, very warm, you do manage to get that musty soil smell off you. Alice, are you showering at the same time?
Oh, yeah.
Are you bothering to take the other side, or are you just...
I mean, I will, because it seems like Henry seems to care. So
sure, yeah, absolutely.
I don't mind if it's just a flesh machine. It's gonna get
absolutely.
It doesn't really matter.
So the three of you finish and come out. Catherine can go in. and start showering. And while Catherine's showering, I guess the others of you get to pick your clothes. So it's a real mix of things, almost as if random people have been grabbed on the street and stripped of their clothes. And obviously, they're all modern clothes, modern to 2012. You definitely don't have your pick of things. So why don't you tell me what you think your character would pick out, and we'll see if we can get that or almost that. And if anyone has an immediate idea, shout out.
I was thinking I'm going to be looking for plain things that can be used to blend in to darkness or, that sort of environment, like camouflage. But I'm not looking for actual
of course,
camo. Yeah. I'm looking for. I am assuming that we're in a city or something. So
yes, they are kind of city clothes. You know what? How does this sound? How does a grey t-shirt and a black tracksuit sound?
Absolutely, yeah, that sort of thing.
Anyone else? Alice, Henry?
After you. Well, what I would say is that Alice would look for durable, long-lasting, high-quality stitching and fabrics. So things that look like they are not necessarily expensive, but high quality and durable.
Right. Absolutely. Well, then for Alice, why don't we go with, for, durable and high quality, it's hard to get past jeans. Mm-hmm. So why don't we go for a pair of jeans and maybe maybe a shirt underneath it, a button-up shirt, and then maybe a jumper over that, like a durable kind of jumper.
I might remark to Henry that I'm clearly one of those cowboys. Look at me. The things they wear today.
It's interesting. Genuinely, I did do some research for this, and it's genuinely interesting thinking about this and looking at it, because there really are remarkably few clothes that we have now that they did not have in the 1940s when you actually look at it. But anyway, yeah. Henry?
I would probably just be looking for some kind of smart-looking button-up shirt and slacks.
Yeah, sure. You know what? I think there's a fairly low-grade business suit in there. Someone who goes and does data entry. That kind of, it's not a nice suit, but it is a suit and recognizably one to someone from the 1940s.
I'll go with that. I'll probably leave off the jacket.
Leave off the jacket. The tie? Keeping the tie?
For now.
Okay. And then we have Catherine, who probably comes out of the shower around this time, and you're wearing what the woman was wearing, which, as I say, is kind of like not exactly like a pantsuit, but with a skirt instead. You know what I mean? Like a jacket and top and like a knee-length skirt.
I would have changed in there, of course.
Of course. All right, then. Adelino said he was waiting outside. Unless, do you want to take this time to kind of talk amongst yourselves at all?
Do any of their names come to me from memory?
No, you are having real trouble with names. So if anyone wants to know names, they're going to ask them, or are going to have to ask them or proffer them.
Well, then I ask Catherine. I seem to have forgotten your name.
That's quite all right. I have forgotten all of yours as well, and I feel much better now. So how about a round of introductions? I'm Catherine.
Alice. Pleasure to meet you.
Henry.
I'm Tommy. I'm wondering where my dog tags are.
So, dog tags. Would they have?
I don't know.
Dog tags are a very American thing, I think.
They might be.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I think they still had. I think we still had plates in the English Army, so we had a kind of equivalent, but something
in World War One.
I think I was reading about this. I think I was watching a. Maybe I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
I was under the impression, and I could be wrong, that dog tags basically exist because of World War One, and how many soldiers were not identified during World War One. I could be completely wrong.
We'll look into it.
Apparently, identity discs in 1907.
There we go. There we go.
We did have them. 2 tags for the British Army and issued in 1916.
Fair enough. But I wonder if that is essentially that maybe they were because by 1916, obviously. Let's not delve into that.
They're made of vulcanized asbestos, just so you know.
Good stuff. But not harmful to vampires, so it's all good. Having introduced yourselves, unless anyone wants to talk any further, Adelino is waiting outside. He's definitely waiting patiently. You can see him just stood to one side of, like, it's another open door, one without a metal bar, and he's just kind of standing there, again, holding the goblet to his chest and kind of looking anywhere but in the room at the 4 of you.
If he's out of earshot, I'll say, why did they keep us restrained?
Probably in case we did what you did.
Or in case we were feeling very hungry.
So at this point, by the way, let's have a quick word about what you can and can't remember. As I think I've said, you have some details of your background on your sheet that you can remember. You can remember your names. You definitely can remember what it is to be kindred and the general kind of rules of kindred existence. Not like in terms of social mores and mores, but in terms of, sunlight bad, blood good, things like that. The terms of kindred society are now starting to come back to you as well. You probably have vague concepts like the Camarilla and clans floating through your head. Your own clan name probably leaps out at you from among them, and you're starting to definitely get more of an awareness of like history and geography and politics. General world knowledge is sliding back into place. But as for more details from your personal history, your acquaintances, things like that, nothing. Like a dead zone in your head. So, are we going to where Adelino is waiting?
Sure.
Okay. Adelino kind of nods happily and nervously as you come out of the chamber and leads you forward down a long corridor. Then up a set of stairs to what is a much larger space. It's a cavernous open area, 2 stories high, that's covered with stacks of crates and shelves piled high with various cardboard and plastic containers. It takes quite a while to kind of negotiate your way around these things, and there's a number of things you can note as you do. So the first is that you see that on the walls of this large area there are windows, but they are small and they're covered with metal shutters. You also pass an area in the center of this very large room where there's a rectangular area covered in sheets and tarpaulins. The air is unnaturally still and smells of warmth and dust near it, and you can see kind of like odd conglomerations of shapes under these tarpaulins and sheets.
I'll have a look under one.
Sure, yeah. He's walking quite slowly, so you can definitely have a peek under. Underneath, there are what look like ancient bricks that are arranged to form a sort of knee-high enclosure, and within that, the bases of what look like several round pillars. It's the whole thing's quite large. Sort of, maybe 30 by 40 feet. It's really quite big. If anyone feels they'll be either near enough to Tommy to look into this and see what's happening, or if Tommy wants to make the roll, then there's a roll available to try and figure out what this is.
I was going to say I won't lift it myself, but I will kind of peek when Tommy's doing it.
Sure.
Have a good peek.
Well, anyone who does want to look and see if they can decipher what this oddly stacked amount of stone and brick is, can give me either an intelligence plus academics or an intelligence plus occult roll at difficulty 3.
I rolled 4 dice, none of them hunger, and got 3 successes.
Was that via academics or occult?
Intelligence.
Oh, sure.
Shit.
Is anyone else making the roll?
I rolled 4 successes.
Okay, and I assume that's via occult.
That is via occult, yes.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I'm also going to give it a go.
Sure.
I think I'm just going to say or think it's just a bunch of ruins.
Sure.
I'm going for intelligence and academics.
Mm-hmm.
And I get, only 3 successes.
That's enough. So those of you, so we'll do a slightly different one for Alice. Henry and Catherine, these look like Roman ruins that have been dug out of the ground, still embedded in kind of like packed earth and stone, and moved here. Alice, you get that sense, and you also get the sense that this was some kind of ritual space. Adelino leads you past that, round a corner, past more stacks of crates and shelves, and then to one of the walls of this large open chamber, which has a set of stairs leading up to it that goes up to the next floor. But obviously it's 2 stories, so it's quite a set of stairs. And he kind of looks around to check everyone's still with him, and then walks on up. I'm assuming you're following him.
Yeah.
How long is this taking? Sorry.
A couple of minutes, not long.
While he's walking, can I try using Sense the Beast on him?
Yeah, absolutely.
And see if he's legit in his fear. Yeah.
I can see Tommy's already speaking the lingo.
Yeah. I think it can also to tell me if he's a. So he need it's resolve plus animalism versus composure and subterfuge. So I don't know what his is.
I will let you know what his composure and subterfuge is, or rather, I will give you a target number for them. Yeah. Composure, subterfuge. Okay, your target number, your difficulty is 3, and my cam appears to have stopped. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm rolling 4 against a difficulty of 3 with hunger 1. I'm going to willpower reroll that failure, and I still fail. So
okay. Sense of Beast doesn't involve a rouse check, does it?
No, it's free.
Okay. So that's just a failure, right?
Yep.
Yep. No problem. Yeah, you can't. You don't get any sense from him.
Yeah, he's an enigma.
Neill, were you about to suggest or ask something?
Only if we were taking quite a while, but it was just a couple of minutes and we were walking. It's more that Catherine would get bored if we took too long.
No, it's not. It's just basically. I mean, I've been describing this place. I've been describing this place in slightly obtuse terms, but you're from the 40s. You know what a warehouse looks like, and it is like a warehouse. So imagine that. A large one, but not huge, ridiculously huge.
Yeah.
It's a relatively short walk.
And there's a sensation that we're making progress rather than just endlessly.
Oh yes. Yes, absolutely. It's not like it's not the end of the Raiders of the Lost Ark style. Just you walk up this set of stairs and come to another corridor, quite a much nicer one than the one that seemed to be down below in what was presumably the basement area. You walk along that, and Adelino kind of gestures for you to enter what looks like an office door.
Enter.
Okay. What you go into is a generally nicer room than anything you've been in so far. It's a rectangular room with a large mahogany desk at one of the narrow ends and bookcases lining the wall opposite. The entrance is in one of the longer walls. So in other words, when you go in, the desk is over to your right and the bookcase is to your left. And the wall ahead of you is broken by a row of narrow windows just above head height. They're covered in Venetian blinds, but you can see a kind of limited view of the night sky. The decor is mostly brown and drab and would definitely occur to you to be very 70s, were you aware what the 70s were. Several chairs are in front of the desk, and there's a chocolate brown leather sofa that's kind of been pushed back to allow room for the chairs. Sat behind the desk, in a plush brown leather office chair, is a man who looks to be of Persian or Iranian descent. He has black hair that's sort of neat, but in a slightly stylish way, and hazel eyes. He's slender and dressed well in, again, not that you're aware of it, but a kind of vintage 70s suit. Clean, very pressed. He is wearing a cravat. Stood next to him, kind of stood by the desk, is a white man in a denim jacket with kind of long, stringy blonde hair, who looks at you with a kind of appraising look as you come in. But the man behind the desk, he leaps to his feet as you enter and says, "Oh, yes. Can I just say I'm so glad to meet you all. I'm honored. I'm honored. Yes. I'm so sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Darius. Darius Shirazi. Yes. And I'm sorry. Our research has been somewhat lacking. Could I perhaps trouble you to ask your names?" He's kind of walked out from behind the desk and is kind of standing, not very close to you, but not uncomfortably close, but kind of close to you and kind of talking to you very directly.
I will lean forward and extend my hand to be kissed and say, "Oh, lovely. I am Catherine. Lovely to meet you."
"Oh, Catherine, yeah, of course." He leans forward and plants a very kind of chaste kiss on your hand and looks a little flustered to be doing so.
Catherine looks very pleased by this. Civility.
I will off my hand for a handshake, and not a kiss, a handshake, and say, "Henry."
He shakes your hand. As he does, he repeats his name again. Darius Shirazi. Turns to whoever's going to say something next. Alice?
Alice says her name and offers her hand in the same way that Catherine did. Happy to take her lead.
He again kind of, "Oh, yes," and kisses your hand again, and then turns to Tommy finally.
I have my arms crossed. This man seems like a flatterer of some kind. I'm sorry, I've just woken up. Perhaps when we get to know each other better. Can I try and sense the beast on him?
Yeah,
he seems really fishy to me.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Does that? Did you not? Did you? So you didn't give him your name or anything?
I did not give him my name.
Sure, that's fine. No, Neill, go ahead while he's making a roll.
I've changed. I've thought better of it for now.
Okay.
For now.
Oh, you were going to go, "Oh, and this is Tommy" or something.
You can.
No, not yet.
Okay, so it's composure and subterfuge again. So I'm rolling 4 dice.
Sure, of course. I will find his of those for you.
Just something about him felt like, I don't know, some sort of city slicker who's...
It's your Henry Mears.
The new Henry Mears. Yeah, it's difficulty 3 again.
Okay. That time I got a success. 3 successes. So...
Okay, so tell me precisely what it gives you. It gives you like a sense of their beast, right? Like
I can sense the beast present in mortals, vampires, and other supernaturals, gaining a sense of their nature, hunger, and hostility. A win allows the user to sense the level of his hostility in a target, whether the person is prepared to do harm or even determined to cause it.
Sure.
And determine whether they harbor a supernatural beast, marking them as a vampire or werewolf.
Okay. I mean, you probably have very limited awareness of werewolves at all. This individual is kindred. They have the beast within them that all kindred share. It is very much not hostile. Not even, but it's kind of sparking within him, but not with hostility, with excitement.
Huh. Okay. I sort of shake my head and I'm like, sorry, I've been in torpor for a while. I don't know where my manners were. My name's Tommy. And I offer my hand.
He looks very glad that you've changed your mind and told him your name. And he reached for Darius. I know it must be hard. I'm sorry that you have been awoken in this way, and perhaps a lot later than you had expected. Though I don't exactly know the details about that. Yes, I don't know how much Adelino here has told you. Adelino's still kind of stood behind you, still kind of holding the goblet. And Darius kind of leans back, sort of against his desk. Anything?
The war is over?
Yes, the war is indeed over. You won, if that is any. Look, I don't know how much has slipped from your minds while you were asleep these long years, but well, we are all loyal children of Mithras here. All of you, Alice has already undergone it, but all of you can feel free to. You have Mithras sections on your background. There's details on how you feel about Mithras. Although you don't know exactly who Mithras is, those feelings can be evoked but now by this man, Darius, mentioning Mithras. You have a sense that you are also a follower of Mithras.
Yeah.
In addition to whatever you have there.
Can I... Sorry.
No, go for it.
I was going to ask if I could do an insight roll to see whether I believe this person is genuinely a fully fledged follower of Mithras who I can trust completely.
That is absolutely on the level to do. Go ahead and give me a wits plus insight roll, please. And the difficulty, it literally has, to their credit, they have thought through a lot of these rolls, and it did have a suggested difficulty for that. Difficulty of, it says 2, but I always feel that rolls of difficulty 2 are a bit like, why are you bothering making them? Difficulty 3, let's say difficulty 3.
I roll 6 dice, 3 for wits, 3 for insight, and I get 5 successes.
It is very clear to you that all 3 of the kindred in this room, who have not just been roused from torpor alongside you, are somewhat awed to be in the presence of you.
And are true followers of Mithras?
They certainly. You have no cause to not believe that they believe what they're saying, for sure.
Then I'll say that is fantastic news. It is good to hear that even after all of this time, there are people who follow Mithras and seek to do his will.
Yes. And this is where perhaps this gets somewhat awkward. Doing his will is, well, it's more difficult nowadays. He is dead.
What?
There are differing accounts of what may or may not have happened, but the perceived common wisdom is that he died during the Blitz, during the war. Bombs.
I am sorry. This may be... I do not mean to be rude in any way. I'm sorry, but if he is dead, then what is going on? Why are you so happy to see us?
He can't be dead.
Well, there are some... the cult of Mithras is aware of a different tale. That a traitor from within turned on our master, our savior, and myself and other faithful followers still do valuable work and follow in his teachings and, well, await a prophesied return. And we work towards that end. And that indeed is why you are here. You are his heralds. Yes, the heralds of the sun. Knowledge slams back into your brains. You are the heralds of the sun, laid down decades past to be roused for a future purpose only Mithras could know. But you expected the first face you saw when you woke up was probably to be his.
Mithras's ways are indeed confusing and troubling sometimes, even for the most loyal followers. But he will return. Trust me, Darius. Now, who is your friend?
I have faith. Oh, yes. This is Mickey. He has been inducted into the mysteries, as have myself and Adelino and a number of others who you will meet and who will help you on your journey. Mickey kind of, in a slightly embarrassing kind of, yep, nod.
Cool.
And to that purpose, I mean, there are a number of things I can provide for you: area knowledge, feeding options, information on the currents, where to go, where not to go, how to. The city can be confusing these days, I'm sure. Queen Anne is Queen Anne. The City of London obviously has a new prince. Queen Anne Bosley. You all know the name, but you are struggling to place. But you are all certainly aware that Anne Bosley was a kindred you knew.
Huh.
Yes. And no, he's eminently interruptible.
Does this knowledge of the Heralds of the Sun bring me a kind of renewed memories or trust in my fellow recently roused compatriots?
That's entirely up to you, and perhaps based on you certainly are aware that you are a Herald of the Sun, and as are these others. It entirely depends on your opinion of Mithras and what you feel your purpose is. I would strongly recommend, for instance, examining your ambition.
And what is it that you want from us?
Well, to do Mithras's purpose as much as we can. Not clearly say. Mickey goes and points to an envelope on the desk. Darius wheels around. Oh, Christ, yes. Gets the envelope and says, "This is from you, from our father, as it were." He proffers it forward. It's kind of a modern paper envelope, but it does have a wax seal on it with an emblem of the sun.
Catherine definitely tries to take it first, unless someone else.
Is anyone else going to try?
I would probably reach for it, but if Catherine is reaching faster, then I would be more than happy for Catherine to take it.
Catherine's definitely going first.
I might disguise my reach as an elaborate ritualistic gesture.
Go ahead.
Can I pick it open and almost open it with a flourish, slightly overdone?
Sure.
Surely that evokes a memory.
And I will start skimming it quickly and then read it out loud, slightly slower than slightly behind where I'm reading, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Let's. We've got an image of this, so we can bring it up. And obviously, Neill, you can either read it off this, or I can paste it for you, or I know you have the PDF, for instance, and I can give you the page number.
I am more than happy to read it. My dear and loyal friends, I am sure you have many questions, but for the time being, I must ask you to be patient. The circumstances around your waking are clearly unusual, and I apologize for this. Much has changed in the time you have been asleep. I regret to inform you that, most tragically, our Lord and Master Mithras himself was destroyed some years ago. Ungrateful traitors from within his cult betrayed him to his enemies. The cult continues, however, devoted to his memory and his legacy. Catherine pauses for a moment. It then goes on to talk about everything that Darius just said. You woke on the cusp of a great storm that is about to envelop London in its fury. I and many others, still loyal to our cause, have already retired to other domains far from here to escape its wrath. However, one important task remains, which has been entrusted to you, our only heralds of the sun. I'll pause for a moment and look around to see if anyone else is recognizing this, or if they're all just as it's new to them all.
The three kind kind of kindred who not the ones you're with, Darius and Mickey, and are rapt at this, kind of like fascinated by it, very excited to learn this.
There's a long pause at this bit. Artifacts of spiritual value to the Mithraic cult are still in London. They are kept by those who were once loyal to us, but who have now strayed from the path. Whether they were involved in the conspiracy to murder our lord is unknown, but they are no longer to be trusted. A clay seal, once used by our lord to mark official documents, left in possession of Lady Anne Bosley.
At this point, I might interrupt. Catherine, is it really necessary for all of the details of this document to be discussed so openly? Surely, there's an addressee for. I mean, yeah, I know we're reading it for the but there are other kindred here. Who can we trust them?
Darius is quite quick to say, Pater Thomas did say that it was acceptable for us to hear when you did. I'm sorry, all of this terribly excites me. Artifacts and such, a little bit. I'm sorry.
A silver ring inset with a ruby, believed to be in the possession of the Tremere Sri Sansa. I'll look up to see if Darius pays any recognition to that name.
Not especially so.
A bronze dagger of Egyptian style, gifted to the Nosferatu Richard the Word. I'll do the same again.
Not. You see, kind of, he doesn't look surprised, but he's just kind of.
And a Phrygian cap once worn by our lord in his original Mithraeum, since claimed by Gwenllian Furch Arwen.
At this, Darius definitely blinks a little bit and looks a little bit puzzled.
Do you recognize that name?
I recognize all the names, Catherine. I will say myself. I consider myself a friend to Gwenllian, and I would not have expected them to conceal this kind of thing from us.
We humbly beseech you to seek these items out and retrieve them before the storm descends. Also take with you the goblet that was used to wake you. And I will turn to look at Adelino.
Adelino kind of, his eyes widen briefly and says, "Oh," and he walks forward and kind of places it on the desk and stands back.
There is not a chance that anyone will reach that thing before me.
Are you lunging for it?
I'm not lunging for it, but I will be there first.
I'm just looking at it and looking at your twitching hands, I'm sure. Once you have completed your task, call this number and we will send a team to extract you from London and guide you to a safe haven. May good fortune and the blessings of our Lord and Master go with you. Thomas, Pater of the Sun, Guardian of the Temple.
Call this number.
You are aware of phone number. You are aware of telephone numbers.
It's a very long phone number, though.
It would be
very oddly fashioned.
Sure.
I might seek to clarify that.
Well, that appears. I'll turn on the back to make sure there's nothing there. That appears to be everything.
Okay.
And I'll gesture it around.
May I read it, Catherine?
Of course, Alice. Of course, darling.
Using Sense the Unseen, is there any way of detecting any kind of supernatural or additional information?
Give me a roll and find out.
Sure. Let's just double check what all these things are. I'm looking for secret messages or.
Yeah, it's okay. While that is happening, while that roll is being made, Darius did kind of blink slightly when Alice kind of raised the notion of an odd, like maybe the phone number looks a bit off, and turned around and said, "Oh yes, practical matters." He rummages in the desk drawer for a second and draws out 4 small kind of metal and plastic objects, which he places on the desk, and then says, "Oh, and I'm happy to help contribute." He reaches into his jacket, draws out a wallet, opens it up, and starts laying £50, £20 notes on the table until there is a fair stack of them there, and says, "I'm sure maybe some of you still have resources available to you, but in case it helps, there's a fair amount of money there, and these How would one? He looks over at Mickey, and Mickey goes, "They're mobile phones." Yes, mobile telephones. You don't need to be wired. Yes. Mickey, can you? Mickey steps forward and picks up a mobile phone and is like, "This is how you use a mobile telephone." And starts going. I'm not going to go through how you use a mobile
Sure.
Whilst
I'm familiar with radios.
I will reach out and start pocketing some of that cash. Certainly more than 1/4 of it.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
At a quick estimation, you would say, with more than just a brief look, there's about a grand there. There's about £1,000.
I'll take all of it. There's only
so enough to buy a house. To buy a street, perhaps.
Enough to live like a king.
I will pay attention to Catherine taking all of it, but won't say anything.
So you don't have. There's no area. There's no switchboard. No area codes. We just the number.
He's like, nope. Flip it open. Punch the number in. Hold it up. You know how a phone works.
Just want to clarify a few details.
These are they're called burner phones. There's a number on them inside the flip case. You probably don't want to be just be careful about them, and if you feel you're compromised, just dump them. Another burner phone won't cost you much.
Oh,
fair enough.
What did that result come? What did that die roll come up as for you, Justin? For your
I rolled 4 die and got 4 successes.
Okay, you cannot pick up anything supernatural or magical in any sense about this letter. It appears to be a perfectly mundane letter.
Is it written in ink?
I don't believe that's supernatural, so perhaps you wouldn't know the answer to that.
True.
But yes, you can tell that you don't need sentiencing for that. In fact, you just need your eyes.
Okay. I don't want to do a
tongue test.
Start licking things.
Start licking anything.
Great.
So, is anyone else kind of asking Mickey? We can assume that you can verify some sense of at least this aspect of modern telecommunications.
Yeah.
From what Mickey's saying, he's delivering it definitely in a slightly exhausted and sort of what's the word? Impatient fashion. But he's giving you a sense of what these things can manage. None of them are smartphones, by the way. They were all just, flip phones.
Yeah.
Where is this Pater Thomas? You said he spoke to you, and also he signed this letter. So
yes, he spoke to me recently via telephone. But as the letter says, he's currently has left London. In all honesty, your best bet towards making progress here, meeting these individuals, gaining these artifacts, maybe Queen Anne is holding a party in the next few days. A party over at the Shard, I believe. He said, desperately trying to remember if that is actually at the Shard, because he didn't prep with that chapter. It is at the Shard, isn't it? Yes. Even in this other game, Neill is our savior of knowledge. So yes, that does remind me. You're in the London Docklands at the moment. I would try to steer clear to a certain extent of the City of London and specifically of Canary Wharf. Queen Anne is quite territorial, and no other kindred are allowed there, except when granted access for Elysium, such as one of these parties. I have somewhere around here. He withdraws a kind of small embossed card that just has a telephone number on it, or what you recognize now as a telephone number, and passes it to you and says, if you call that number, it should put you in contact with Miss Regina Blake, who should be able to perhaps talk to you and maybe secure you an invitation to the party. It's probably not guaranteed. Maybe you don't. Yes.
I'm sure we'll have no troubles, darling.
He says, oh, very well, then, unless there's any way I can help. He basically starts trying to list off ways in which he could possibly help, and Mickey is kind of like standing there a bit, tired of this. Sorry, Neill.
At some point in this rambling, I'll interrupt and say, yes, is there anywhere we can stay? I suspect that my old address is quite out of the question.
Oh, it may well be, and there are some recommendations I can give you. He starts reeling off hotels in the immediate area. Now I'm gonna rule this, but feel free to do cogent arguments against it. But I think I'm happy with it. Can everyone who's not Catherine and is probably listening less to Darius in this interaction about hotels roll wits plus awareness difficulty 3, please?
Okay, that's 5 dice for me.
And that's fair. I'm definitely trying to control his conversation because he's undoubtedly going off topic again.
Yeah.
2 successes.
3 successes with a willpower reroll.
Cool. Henry?
I do not make it.
Okay, so Tommy's the one who's made it. So, Tommy, as this conversation is getting very boring, you are aware enough of kindred society now in your head, and it's flooding back to you that listening to a Ventru talk hotels with Darius does not seem like perhaps your idea of a riveting conversation. Yeah. And your eyes kind of track up, and you're glancing along those high small windows that have the Venetian blinds over them, and you catch a flicker of movement. And then very clearly, you see what appears to be some kind of small machine hovering past slowly.
How big?
That's
that sort of size, not like
that sort of size. Yeah,
not
like a foot and a half. It's not big. No. It's obviously not a manned vehicle. But it's just, it's fair to say that even with 40s technology not being 100% away from us, you've not seen something like this before.
No.
I did mean to look up if helicopters had been invented in the 40s.
We had planes. I don't think we had helicopters.
No. I'm not sure. I don't think we did, because obviously, we're talking about a drone, right? And obviously it's rotored, so I didn't know whether to compare it.
The first one took flight in 1939. The first practical one.
Okay.
But that's
Tommy probably didn't see it, sort of thing. So yeah, it's not like anything you've seen before. It's clearly some kind of small flying machine, and it's gliding past the blinds.
At your 6 o'clock, what is that?
The general. It's up to the other 3 kindred whether they immediately realize what at your 6 might mean. Yeah. And the other 3 kind of look confused, and then Adelino kind of looks up where you're looking and says, "Oh fuck."
Cool.
Okay. Is there anything around that I could throw?
There's nothing I am immediately to hand. I guess the mobile phone you have. It's very unlikely that you'd shatter the glass and the Venetian blinds as well. And
nothing heavy. Yeah.
No, nothing that immediately. There's no brick on the floor or anything. So
sure.
Man is good man.
There is like a moment of silence in the room, and Darius goes, "Antigen. We need to get out of here right now. As fast as, oh God, I have paraphernalia to." He starts diving into the rummaging through the drawers of his desk and sort of packing things into a satchel desperately. Adelino and Mickey are kind of like look up at the window, slack-jawed for a second. The drone hovers out of sight, and they just dash out of the door.
Matches. Do you have anything that can start fires?
No, there's no time, sir. I'm afraid. Okay. They will be here soon. They'll have matches. Don't you worry. Antigen, Inquisition. Things have things have changed. Matters are much more dangerous, and I apologize that it has come to this, but it's obviously beyond my control. While he's doing that, he's just
somebody
packing
slap
stuff
him.
into a satchel.
Like, you know.
This is the gathering storm the letter was talking about then.
Quite so, quite so. If you wish to maybe look and see how deep trouble we're in, there is a security room next door, or there is a set of stairs to the roof at the end of the corridor. If we knew perhaps the situation we're in, we might be able to make a decision quicker.
So you're saying these are mortals? Let's go and see the security footage.
I'm gathering up the goblet and the letter and pocketing them, and
Sure.
I'm following those two to the security room with cross-tutting.
These are a jumpy lot.
So the room is the next one down the corridor, and this is something, again, you probably haven't really seen anything quite like. It's a bank of security screens, right? Kind of lo-fi ones, sort of small, boxy, all black and white security cameras. But again, you are intelligent beings who've seen technological change through your lifetime. Like, you can very quickly gather what the magic moving pictures are, right? I mean, you'll have seen films and cinema anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the very origins of television are probably around where you were. But again, you probably would not have seen it. But shall we? I think it's fair to say, unless you really don't want to, that you can quickly gather what they are and what they do. And then let's have a wits. Anyone who is examining the monitors carefully can make a wits plus awareness roll.
So that's
please.
5 dice I'm rolling. What's the difficulty?
You just tell me what we're going to do. Leave it a bit variable. You just tell me what
successes.
You get. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I will have a look.
Yes.
And then after this roll as well, anyone who has any points in technology can make a separate roll.
2 successes.
3 successes.
Nothing. Does anyone have any points in technology and want to make an extra roll?
Yes.
Okay, make me that roll, and again, tell me how much you get. In the meantime, I will describe to the others what you get. Anyone with 3 successes can see what look like quite grainy black and white images of, it looks like maybe the front of this warehouse. You can see that some of the cameras are pointing towards the warehouse, and the dimensions seem about right. And you can see what looks like a street outside with buildings and some cars, odd automobiles parked up. And you can see several individuals emerging from the darkness in the street, and seemingly moving towards the front gates of this warehouse area that seems to have a kind of like big metal fence with barbed wire along the top, kind of set around it, with several automobiles parked inside, and then they're kind of making their way towards that front gate. Anyone who rolled 4 or more can see that the individuals coming out of the darkness have the word police emblazoned on their gear.
Do we not have control of them?
How did that technology roll go, Henry?
Does 3 succeed?
3 is good. You quite quickly grasp how this works. You kind of look down and you see that there are several numbered buttons. You see that there are, a certain number of things, and you can see that there are more numbers than there are screens. Ergo, there are more cameras than there are showing at the moment. And you curiously tap a couple of them. One of them looks like perhaps what is the rear of the warehouse. It seems to be almost on the banks of the Thames, and you can see that there are a couple of dinghies floating on the Thames, and one of them has kind of come to shore, and several individuals are coming off that dressed identically to the police at the front, and appear to be moving towards a large doorway at the back of the warehouse as well. Everyone can see this now that Henry has accessed it.
Looks like they're surrounding us.
I think, darlings, we should leave.
He suggested the roof.
I think he suggested the roof as a vantage point rather than an escape.
Okay. I guess we need to punch a way through their lines.
Back through the basement?
Or ask if they have another exit.
A voice from the next room says, "There is another exit. If I could just beg your indulgence to wait but a moment for me."
Yes.
I will go quickly over to him, if I can. And is he still packing loads of crap?
Yes, although he seems to be getting towards the end of that.
Well, it probably isn't necessary, but just in case, I'd like to turn Aura on and say, Darius, darling, we really need to leave now.
Sure. Why don't you give me a... I think this is a composure roll rather than charisma or manipulation. I think composure and your choice of leadership or persuasion.
Okay, then I can't use Aura.
Is that only charisma and manipulation?
Actually, no, if it's only charisma, but I can also use it with persuasion. So as long as I'm using persuasion, I can still...
I think that's fine.
Isn't all the one that it's like only use it with specifically this or anything else the storyteller lets you use it with?
Persuasion or performance, but the storyteller can also let you use it for any charisma if they want. So I always encourage erring on the safe side of safety, or it makes entrancement worthless. So I get 3 dice for Awe, 3 dice for composure, and 2 dice for leadership.
And I'm going to say that your difficulty there is Darius's. Let's say composure plus I don't know, something else. Good one, Matt. Yeah, his composure plus resolve. I think that's fair. So it's a difficulty 3.
I rolled 4 successes.
Yeah, he kind of glances up at you, and you can kind of sense like the impact of your presence wash over him. And he says, "Yes, of course, Catherine. Yes." He slings the satchel, in fact, a couple of satchels over his shoulder, and starts making his way fairly fast towards the office door. As he does so, anyone who's still watching the screens sees gunfire break out. Security guards that you hadn't noticed before emerge from various kind of, like a little sort of checkpoint at the gatehouse, I guess, and from around the automobiles parked around the warehouse, and they start to fire at each other. Obviously, you can see the muzzle flashes and stuff on the screens. You can very much hear the gunfire as well, breaking out outside. It's entirely up to you how familiar you are with gunfire. Tommy will be quite a bit.
Yes.
This has an intensity you have not heard before. For reference, not that I'm saying that people here generally have a great notion of what gunfire sounds like. They are firing fully automatic rifles at each other on full auto. So it's very intense.
Right.
Compared to what you're used to. It's absolutely fine for you to take that for Tommy in however a manner he might be affected by it.
Okay. I sort of I think it jerks me into a certain type of mode. Okay. Can I look at through the cameras and try to work out what the firing lines would be inside of this warehouse, and if there is a particular exit that we should go for if we don't want to be shot?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's absolutely great, and I think we can do that. How about we do that as we proceed downwards, though, rather than right here? But I think that's a great idea. Darius is now moving. He's not running because that would be loud. He's kind of jogging or power walking his way kind of down the corridor towards the stairs that you came up by, and kind of sort of mock whispering, I know there is a way out in the basement. The others should be able to hold them off until we can make it there. But obviously, I'm not particularly able to protect myself. So if perhaps you could accompany me.
Don't worry, we've got your backs.
Is everyone else moving along with Darius?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Darius is heading down the stairs, and you follow behind him. As you do so, you can hear the distinctive sound of a door clanging open at the back of the warehouse. Tommy, why don't you give me your choice of composure or wits plus firearms roll, and we'll just see how many you get.
Okay, I'll use composure and firearms because that seems appropriate. I am going to re-roll that because I got 0 successes on my 6 dice. So, oh wow! After a willpower re-roll, total failure. 0 successes.
Wow, that's
rolling 6 dice twice.
6 dice twice. There we go.
I can only re-roll 3 of them, but
yeah. Can you? Oh yeah, up to 3 with the willpower. Yes, never mind. So you're proceeding downwards into this general warehouse area. As I described it earlier, it's a very busy place, right? It's got big stacks of crates, shelves of various things. Hopefully, you should be able to evade these intruders before you get to the basement stairs. Mm-hmm. But we will see. So to try and evade them, it's going to be... there we go. A dexterity plus stealth roll at difficulty 2.
5 dice.
It could be a lot worse, but you've acted very quickly.
I got 2 successes.
Do you want us each to roll that?
Oh, yes, please. Sorry, I didn't mean to imply it was just Tommy. Dexterity plus stealth, difficulty 2.
So dexterity.
Okay. Yeah.
I was going to let Tommy's roll give you bonuses, but...
Yeah, my roll is not giving you bonuses.
I'm going to spend one of my very few amount of willpower.
I rolled 2 on 2.
Oh, 2 successes, just.
3.
Nice. All of you kind of... Darius clearly knows his way around the warehouse. You think to stick with him. Tommy, you're moving between kind of the best cover that you can find, essentially, while also sneaking around. Alice, you can almost kind of feel these mortals searching for you, like eyes on you, and it's a familiar feeling to you, and you manage to kind of clamber your way through the various shelving and the piles of crates. Henry and Catherine, you make your way as well, working your way through, kind of sticking closely together at most points, and then all 5 of you kind of move down the stairwell as you hear the gunfire kind of ratcheting up in intensity outside. You hear more footsteps entering the back of that warehouse, and you've gotten away from that initial intrusion that they made at the back, but you are aware that time is definitely of the essence. Darius kind of dashes down into that main room, still with the pile of clothing, and he turns towards the showers and says, in here. Quite sneaky. He dashes onto the one side of the showers, the side that Henry and Tommy were showering on, and he peels back the shower tray at the bottom where the water sluices through. Below is a tunnel about 5 feet in height, maybe about 4 feet wide, and he says, it could be a bit tight and uncomfortable, but I assure you it's safe. And he jumps down into it.
I follow.
Rather down there than up there. Follow along.
I sigh, thinking the fact that I just got new clothes and follow as well.
Absolutely.
Assuming Alice is doing yes. So the tunnel, it's small and cramped and dark and wet. You can proceed forward hunched in single file, and you do so for about 50 meters before the night sky kind of opens up in front of you, and you emerge out onto the bank of the Thames. There is, and when I say onto the bank of the Thames, I mean onto the bank of the Thames. There is a slick, almost slide of mud and debris between you and the Thames, and basically Darius has just started scrambling across it, kind of hands and feet squelching in the mud, trying to get up to a more solid embankment off to the left. Anyone following him, and really there's no option but to follow him or to turn back, needs to give me a dexterity plus athletics roll, please, at difficulty 3.
I'm rolling 6 dice.
I'm rolling 3 dice, and one of them's a hunger, so wish me luck.
I've got 3 successes.
Cool.
That's bestial failure.
Good.
Critical failure or whatever.
Bestial failure.
I just
That's
have a
the one.
normal failure because I have no hunger. So for once, I cannot get bestial failures.
How
Feels
did
good.
Alice do?
I got 3 successes with a willpower reroll. I think this is a good time to do well.
3 successes. Okay. What is? Do you know off the top of your head what Henry's clan's compulsion is, Neill? Or do you
I was looking at it earlier.
I'm just thinking about whether it's appropriate or whether I should go with a different
morbidity,
solution.
I believe, or something like that.
Yes.
Like a fascination with death and with...
I have to basically diagnose someone's death, either past or fairly imminent, or have a
Okay. I think that's
3 dice penalty to everything.
And how long do you have? How long is that in play for?
Until I diagnose someone's past or imminent death.
And until then, you have a -3 dice pool.
Something like that. Let me.
Is that right?
Can you cause that imminent death?
Normally, compulsions wear off after a scene or a session or something.
Some of them don't. The Nosferatu one doesn't, for instance.
Okay.
Nor the La Sombra.
Well,
their blood urges them to study the individuals around them for signs of illness, frailty, or impending death, until they have either predicted a death without supernatural means or solved the cause of a local one. The vampire suffers a 3 dice penalty to other rolls until the scene ends. That's
until the scene ends. Okay, that's fair. All right. Definitions of scene might vary here because we are coming up to the end of the session. I don't want to slap you with a compulsion and then you don't have it. So we'll probably roll it over to the beginning of the next scene, but I think that's fine. So Tommy, Alice, you scramble your way kind of along fine. Catherine and Henry, the footing on everything underfoot is just it's too much. The speed you're going at, the amount of kind of slippery mud and debris, and both of you just pitch into the Thames, crashing into the cold water. Henry, just as you do so, beyond any kind of sense of embarrassment or frustration you might feel, you are suddenly overcome with a sense of what it must be like for a mortal to do this, to fall into cold water and feel it filling up their lungs, choking them, taking them to whatever lies on the other side, the thing you've only had brief glimpses of, tantalizing glimpses of before. And you find yourself, as you are so often, thinking about mortality and what makes things tick an awful lot. Both of you can scramble out of the water fairly easily. It's not you've just gone into the shoreline, essentially. Tommy and Alice, are either of you helping them?
I'm definitely turning around to try and go back and, grab them and pull them out if possible.
You see that Darius is doing the same as well. He's not very nimble on his feet, but he is kind of moving down and trying to kind of chain with Tommy to try and drag you out. There's no need to make a roll for any of it. I think it's just unpleasant. Yeah. Sure. You clamber out. Yeah, your clothes are soaked and you're fairly covered in mud.
Ugh.
Such a shame.
Thank you.
Darius is going, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I assure you it was the only way out.
Well, let's make the most of it.
We're not out yet.
Darius, you climb up to a more solid earth embankment on the shoreline, kind of mount over it, off to your left as you face in, you can see kind of muzzle flashes and still hear gunfire and cries, and you also see that from the very top of the warehouse, a curl of smoke is now reaching up towards the night sky. Ahead of you is kind of another little industrial park, and Darius beckons and says, "We'll find what safety we can. There's a fence we can get through here. I'm so sorry. This hasn't really gone exactly as planned." He dashes forward. Presumably you follow him off into the streets of London. And we'll wrap that session up there, I think. Okay. Actually, very nicely timed, exactly where I wanted to get to. So, first episode, Fall of London. For regular viewers, you will know that we now have a kind of bit where we address any questions or comments or suggestions or anything that people have. So if you have those, pop them in the chat, and Steve will gladly and happily pop them up on screen for us to talk. In the meantime, I'll do a wee blurb. There are a bunch of links down below. There's links to our Twitch and our YouTube. You're watching on one of those, but why not check out the other as well? There's a link to our Patreon. If you want to support us, you can go in there and do that and get lovely treats in return, like character creation videos and behind-the-scenes snippets and stuff like that. We have a Discord. If you want to talk about anything role-playing related or anything telling tales, then please do join us over on there. And we have a bunch of social media where we're usually telling tales RP, but not always. We have another ongoing series on Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock GMT, Simbaroom, so that's tomorrow night. Dark Fantasy, it's really good fun. We have a series of one-shots that we do monthly, the most recent of which was Troika, which is abstract, surreal indie goodness. The VOD for that is still up on Twitch as this is streamed, and it will be on YouTube over the coming week or so. We also have a new series coming this coming Monday. That's Monday the 15th of March. It will be at 8 o'clock GMT, and it is Call of Cthulhu, for which the keeper will be Johnny. I'm not GMing this one. Shock and horror, literally cosmic shock and cosmic horror. That's all my blurb done. I don't know if we've got anything in the comments to pop up, but before that happens, Fall of London. Yeah, thoughts, fun.
I'm enjoying playing a new character and having different, like a totally different take on things. Just being like, yep. That's cool.
You seem less gung ho with your character.
with
my
your
military character.
Military.
Well, I think it makes some sense that someone who has any experience of actual war and suffering might be a little bit less gung ho.
Yeah,
it's true.
And the wonderful Oscar Kane.
Yeah. You're enjoying
they're trying to lick everything though.
Well, are you enjoying seeing how a real Tremere goes? Bit of Tremere.
You two have literally swapped clans, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm seeing how easy it is to play Nosferatu.
Smack talk, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Just get to be secret about everything.
For purposes of anyone's curious, I'm not particularly interested in holding back people's clans or anything like that. But yeah, if in case anyone hadn't determined it, Alice is Tremere, Tommy is Nosferatu, Catherine is Ventru, and Henry is Hecata. Or for the nerds among you, to be more precise here, really, being as this is a character from the 1940s, Henry is Giovanni. Really, let's face it.
I think he's Hecata, but he doesn't know he's.
He
Hecata.
doesn't know he's Hecata yet. No, absolutely.
Changed a little.
Changed a little bit. Cool. Well, I don't think we have any comments or questions or anything like that. So thanks to all the players as usual. I think this was a great session and cool to do something different with like this little alternate thing to London Ascendant, right? We'll be back next week. We'll play our next session of Fall of London. I'm not sure at the moment how long we'll be playing Fall of London before we hop back to London Ascendant, because my idea is to kind of scatter it through London Ascendant rather than do it all now. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm kind of playing it by ear. So thanks to the players. Thanks to Steve as usual. Thanks to all you watching, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.